It's showtime. Good evening. Welcome. Jim Hester here from larpmusic.com. Back with another musical musing tonight, talking about music marketing and whether or not social media is important as a freelance composer and producer. I kind of have I would say a hate-hate relationship with social media, and it's something that I battle with quite a lot. And I probably spend too much energy worrying about it. But I just want to have a look at a few sort of core questions tonight, because I think it's something that probably affects anyone who is a freelance composer or freelance music producer. Um, how important is it? What are the metrics for measuring any kind of value or success that it brings? How much time should you spend doing it? What content should you be putting out there? Those are the questions I'm going to sort of have a look at. But before I do, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This channel is all about helping music makers monetize their music with a focus on production music and getting winning sync opportunities for TV, film, and ads. So if that sounds like it could be of benefit and interest, then please do hit the subscribe button and ring my bell. That way you're the first to find out every time I post. So let's dive into this subject. And as ever, this is a highly interactive chat. So I'm very, very keen to kind of get other people's thoughts and opinions on this. I don't have all the answers figured out. I only have my experiences, which I will share. But I'm totally open to people telling me that they've used it to great success. And yeah, so please do get in touch. Let me know with the chat. And if you actually want to join me on screen and have a chat, if you're watching this live, then I will post a link in the chat as well. So the big question, I suppose, is how important is social media? If you go, and obviously I'm not sort of unaware of the irony of the fact that I'm discussing this on YouTube, which I'm kind of using in a social media-esque way. But I think if you listen to a lot of the information out there, a lot of the commentators out there will have you believe that social media is critical to your business, and if you don't do it, you'll die. And I tend to think that the people who are saying that fall into two categories. One, they're the social media networks themselves, and their business model lives and dies by the fact that they need eyeballs on their platform because that's how they sell advertising revenue. And the other camp is the people who monetize people's love of social media and sort of offer to consult for them or to handle campaigns in social media for them. So obviously those two camps have a vested interest in social media. So of course they're going to tell you that it's the most important thing in the world and you should be doing it now. And if you're not doing it, then you're doing it wrong and you're going to explode. So I am a little bit more skeptical, let's say, when it comes to the importance of social media. And I think one of the big things I've wrestled with for quite a long time is kind of a metric for success. Is like, how do you gauge, because obviously you're online, so you've got constant data stream of how things are working. How do you evaluate whether or not your social media has been successful? And I've constantly been looking for sort of like a metric. And a few years ago, I did a Game of Thrones funk cover, which I put up on Facebook, and it kind of went viral, I suppose. It got 36,000 views over a very short period of time. I think it was like a week something. I happened to be on holiday at the time, so I couldn't even really sort of cash in on the wave. But it did really well, 36,000 views. But if I was to sort of approach it from a sort of like, okay, what's my metric for success, likes and engagement, etc., etc. There's lots of engagement, but from the 36,000 views, that converted to 43 likes of my Facebook page, which is 0.1%. It's not even 1%. It's 0.1% sort of conversion rate in terms of the 36,000 people that saw it. Only 0.1% of them thought, "Oh, cool, I'm going to sort of follow this channel." Now, that obviously doesn't mean anything, but it was a bit of a wake-up call for me in terms of sort of, if you're looking for a metric, it's like, well, obviously likes isn't a metric because, and that's organic. So I wasn't even paying for it. That was organic traffic and it didn't convert into likes or people being interested. So, that gives me an understanding of, okay, well, maybe the metric of likes or engagement actually isn't that important. But I think one thing I've come to understand over, the last few years, and I wrote a rant about social media on my blog some time back, but I think it's really important to treat it as branding rather than direct response marketing, rather than something which has a return. So for example, Nike, they don't put out like a Super Bowl campaign and then start making a note of how many additional sales they get in the hours following on from that campaign. branding is more about staying top of mind. It's more about engaging people on some kind of emotional level, and as I say, keeping your brand top of mind. And it's an ongoing process which is very difficult to quantify. So I think for me personally, and I think generally, if you approach it from that point of view, it's probably going to be less painful, because as I say, for a long time I was trying to work out what's the value of it. So yeah, but I'm also unconvinced by how very important it is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's free advertising, it's free marketing. And this is what Gary Vaynerchuk says. He still says, once upon a time, you used to have to spend money to put an ad in a paper. So if you're a composer or music producer and you want people to hear your work, to hear your music, putting it out on social media is a free way to get ears on your music, which is great. And obviously this applies to if you're an artist or a musician as well, but I'm sort of focusing on freelance composers and music producers. So it's a free way to do it. Obviously you are shouting into a void of very busy social media, so it's not that easy to get heard, but it's free marketing. So I'm also in the chat we were having last Thursday about working on your business, working for your business. It's a case of if you don't have people coming to you for your work, then music is just a hobby. You need paying clients, you need customers in order for it to be a profession. So again, like, social media is just one channel that you can use to put your music out there into the world so that people can hear it and hopefully then be converted into either fans, listeners, or even potential clients further down the line. So okay, so that said, like, social media probably isn't as important as some commentators will have you think, because obviously their livelihoods depend on you thinking it's really important. And there's loads of different things that you can do to promote your business. But let's say that, okay, it is something that we're going to do because it kind of makes sense. It's a free platform on which to put our creations out into the world. I suppose the next question is, how much time should you spend doing it? And that is a big one, because I think if you take, for example, people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who owns a digital media empire, that's his business. His business is social media, so it makes sense for him to be leveraging that and be doing that all the time. I, on the other hand, am a composer and producer, and my value is in getting better at my craft. It's about improving my compositions. It's about improving my production. It's about getting better at mixing. Those are the things that add the most value to my career. So for me to spend massive amounts of time on social media, he says, doing a YouTube live, is sort of counterproductive, or there's an opportunity cost to that. So whereas in the past I've sort of spent quite a bit of time doing bits of social media here and there, now it's, for me personally, it's something that I kind of see the value in and will do. But however, if I get really busy, it is a thing that kind of drops to the bottom of my list. How much time you should spend doing it, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think I work on the 80-20 principle when it comes to what I'm doing, if I can. So at any given time, I ideally want to be spending 80% of my time making music and then 20% of the time working on my business. So within that 20% of my time will fall some social media elements. That's just Pareto's principle, which is kind of a very useful way to sort of sometimes gauge. It's in Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek. If you haven't read it, read it. It's pretty good. But I tend to sort of do 80-20% principle, because if I get to a point where I'm doing more marketing, more social media, more admin business stuff than music, I tend to get a bit, I just struggle with it. Obviously, if I haven't got any work on, then I have to sort of adjust my weighting to be sort of like working harder at sort of being in touch with people and networking. But ideally, I want to be spending the vast majority of time doing music, because if I spend all my time doing social media, there's an opportunity cost there. First of all, there's the time cost, but also there's an opportunity cost of you aren't getting better at playing piano, you aren't getting better at composing, you aren't out there contacting or networking in the real world. Because I think that's a key part of this, is like, social media is one thing, but it is no substitute for sort of face-to-face and meeting people face-to-face. Oh, I'll breathe. I'm going to go to comments. Someone's posted a comment. Ollie Barton saying, great topic, Jim. The thing is that social media is an extension of any business networking. As much as it's a showcase of your work, more importantly, it's about creating a community around your work. I think that's right, Ollie. And I think it is an extension of it rather than a substitute. Because I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of this with just my website, is just thinking that having a website is like, that's me doing networking. But actually it is important, but face to face, phone calls, interacting with human beings in a real world setting is probably much more important in terms of building a career, and certainly building fruitful relationships which will lead to collaborations for work further down the line. So yeah, I hear you on that, Ollie, big time. Anyone listening, if you do have anything to add to the chat, please let me know in the chat. And if you would like to come on screen and actually chat in real time, then I will be posting a link in a few minutes. In fact, I'm going to post that link right now. You can do that, and I'll bring you into the green room. You get a Long Island iced tea. You don't really. Well, you do. It's a virtual one though. So I've just posted a link in the chat. So if you want to come on screen and chat about this with me in real time, I would love to have you on board, because I'm very interested to know what your experiences and learnings are. So I think the other thing that I've battled with is, what content. And this is the thing, is like, I don't really consume social media. I realized a long time ago that social media has this incredible ability to waste hours of my time. And if you've seen The Social Dilemma, you'll know that social media platforms are engineered to keep you on there as long as humanly possible. Now, as a professional, it's one thing to go on there to do some professional promotion, but at the same time, you end up getting sucked in and go down the rabbit hole. You come out 3 hours later having achieved absolutely nothing. So I kind of severed ties with social media for that reason, because from a productivity point of view and being effective with my time, social media had to go. But then that sort of throws in the question, okay, so if you are going to do it, which I sort of am doing now, clearly, how much time do you dedicate to it? Don't know. Probably too much at the moment. But how do you go about creating content? Because I don't spend much time on social media and I don't really consume it, I don't really have much interest in consuming content in that way. I'm probably not best placed to decide what content to put out. However, what I've decided recently is, obviously if you're a producer or composer, you're creating music all the time. So you're basically putting out your music and your compositions and your productions. And obviously if you're doing that, and going back to the sort of idea of a metric for success, obviously the algorithms tend to favor engagement. And in Seth Godin's book, This is Marketing, he talks about the smallest viable market. So I think sometimes the tendency is to get hung up on views and likes and things like that, whereas actually it's about servicing a sort of small group of people who really like what you do, rather than trying to sort of serve the mass market. And kind of coming to terms with that is partly kind of responsible for me doing what I'm doing now, because if it was all about the metrics and getting millions of views, I wouldn't be doing it, because I don't get millions of views yet. But yeah, so it's about creating content to put out there that is showcasing what you're doing. But as well, I think, as what Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, which I think is very cool, is actually sort of, if you're stuck with what to do on social media, it's actually kind of documenting your process. I am in the studio day in, day out making music, and I probably take for granted that there's actually quite a lot of people out there who'd be really interested in what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Some really simple stuff, like the fact that every afternoon at 5 o'clock I have a cup of tea and a couple of oatcakes with peanut butter on it. No one cares about that, surely. But in terms of my processes and my production and my mixing and things like that, I'm kind of realizing, stuff that I take for granted, but that actually people will be genuinely interested in. So I'm sort of turning this around, which is what I'm doing now, is I'm kind of sharing my thoughts on social media, business, music, mixing, etc., so that anyone starting out, or not even starting out, but anyone else doing it can hopefully it's useful. That's all I'm saying, is like I'm sharing those experiences because hopefully somebody out there will find it useful and beneficial in some kind of way. And in terms of content, I'm sort of now starting to look into, okay, well, what am I doing, and intellectualizing my processes so that I can share them with other people out there. So that's it. I don't really have all the answers for social media. In fact, I would love to hear more from anyone else who's got anything to say on it. Have you had any experiences with social media? Have you gained clients from social media? Has your business sort of boomed as a result of social media? And if so, how much effort, time, money have you had to put in to make that happen, or has it been organic? Because I know artists who have leveraged social media very well. But I also happen to know that they have spent inordinate amounts of time and money in doing so. And my question is, okay, so they spend all that time and money doing it, but what's the return? What's the end value other than engagement on the video? or maybe, collaboration. Again, I'm looking for a metric, aren't I? Don't do it. But I think if you're going to spend large amounts of time doing something, you have to have an understanding of what you're to get out of it. And if you just do it, suppose if you just enjoy it, then that's great. But it's also about looking at the opportunity cost of, if I am doing that, what other stuff could I be doing that I'm not doing? So please let me know in the chat right now. Have you had any wins on social media? I have had clients come to me and approach me through Instagram. Never had anything Facebook or YouTube, but Instagram has been a platform whereby people have contacted me. Whether they found me there or whether they've sort of found my website and then come to Instagram and DM me, I don't know. But I certainly know of at least 2 clients that I've had that have come through social media. So, again, it's very hard to know exactly where they. Oh, hang on, I've got a comment come in here from Siqueres. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, mate. Sorry. Could you tell me how to get free interviews with smaller music blogs? I'm not sure what you mean. Free interviews with smaller music blogs. You mean you want them to interview you? Submit Hub. Because invariably there's a lot, if presuming you're an artist and you're trying to get, them to write a piece about you, it's difficult because I can't remember the stat. There's something like 15,000 pieces of music released every single week on Spotify, something crazy like that. I might have made that up, probably did, but it's something like that. And obviously bloggers just don't have time in the day to be able to sort of sift through stuff. But Submit Hub is a great platform whereby you do pay to put your music in front of them, but if they don't give you any sort of feedback or a review, then you get your money back. But if they like what you do, they will feature you. I hope that helps. I think that's what you're asking. But yeah, in terms of, obviously that is a good point, is if you're doing social media, you're reaching one person at a time, whereas if you're approaching blogs, if blog has a readership of 1,000 people and they put out an article, then you're assuming that a much larger number of people are going to see that off the back of one bit of work, rather than social media where maybe 20 people see it versus 500, 1,000, whatever. So there you go. I hope that's been helpful. As ever, in the comments, please do holler with any questions that you've got. Like, for example, library@larpmusic.com. If you've got any particular issues that you would like me to chat about during my musical musings, I'm going live every Tuesday from now until eternity. So if there are any burning questions, challenges that you would like me to tackle, then please let me know. I will do my best to either answer them via email or even do a video on it. So holler at library@larpmusic.com or comment on this video. I always get back to people who comment on my YouTube videos. I try to keep track of Facebook, but I don't go on it very often, again, because I want to be productive and effective, and it's a bit of a time suck. So yeah, do give me a shout and let me know. Any more questions, throw them in quickly now. Otherwise, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. No, not anymore. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much for watching. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button and ring my bell. I'm posting every Tuesday. Well, I'm going live every Tuesday. I post a video every Thursday on everything about music production and composition, from the writing to the producing to the mixing, business things like this, mental health, well-being. So if that's valuable, then do hit subscribe, and please do let me know with a comment. I'm going to leave it for now, but happy Tuesday night or Tuesday morning, depending on where you're watching, or whatever day it is, whenever you're watching this. And I'll see